like a lot of people don't know the difference between housing insecurity and homelessness, and I don't think people realize how many people it affects. My name is Courtney, and I currently work in marketing for a trade show company. When you think of homeless people, you think of like people on the streets of New York. You don't think of like your friend in college who doesn't have a place to stay over the summer. I would say being homeless is just actively not having a place to stay or to call home, just kind of lacking that home base and like safety net that a lot of other people have. Housing insecure to me is just a lot of an uncertainty in terms of you might have a place to stay that's not stable, or you don't have reliable housing at any given point. You're constantly fearing you might lose the housing you have. So during the last 5 years, I have suffered from mainly housing insecurity and have probably moved about 11 times. I lived on a lot of people's floors. I lived in a lot of people's spare bedrooms, just bounced around a lot. And because of that, I think you develop this sort of need to be a people pleaser because you don't want to give anybody a reason to kick you out of their home. You don't want to give anybody a reason to not like you. So you try to be as useful as possible at any given moment so that they will like you and won't feel stressed by you being there or won't feel like a burden. It's not something that's discussed a lot, and it's something that I don't think college campuses really think about. There really aren't any simple answers when it comes to students who don't have any place to stay over the summer. They just kind of kick you out when the dorms close and expect you to figure it out. They don't consider students who just don't have a reliable home life, or students who maybe live too far away to move home, or even like students in the foster care system. Just anybody, like there's 1,000,001 reasons why you might not have summer housing. And frankly, colleges don't really care because it's either super expensive to stay on campus or they just like don't even have answers of what you're supposed to do. There's a lot of resources that I wish colleges had. I went to UConn. They don't really have anything. I didn't even know what the word housing insecure was until like pretty much when I graduated and had already finished dealing with that. So I wish UConn had more alternatives, just some sort of resources that explain to you what you're even supposed to do in that situation outside of like taking a summer class. For most of my time at college, I worked 3 jobs at once because I needed that income to be able to afford rent throughout the summer months. So a lot of the times I was saving up money to be able to like compile and have the money to pay rent over the summer because I'd have to sublet, I'd have to do something. I was constantly looking for jobs that gave me free housing, and it's just a lot to juggle because you just have so much more stress than a normal college student. It's hard to feel like a normal college student. For me at least, there was always that sense of like money was freedom because you need money in order to have a place to live, in order to afford groceries, in order to be financially independent. And it created like this weird separation between me and a lot of my friends, I felt like, because I would be like at a bar on a random night and people would be like, oh, I only have $30 in my bank account right now. My parents are gonna have to like transfer more money. And the thought of only having $30 in my bank account is insane because I don't have any backup after that. Like that's all I have. There's nobody to put more money in my bank account besides me. So it was just like this weird like idea of like I'm living such a different life than everybody else around me. I had worked to like stay on campus for breaks before then, but that was more of like I wanted to do that. I figured it'd be better for my mental health. And it wasn't until my sophomore year where like I think my home life truly became bad enough that I realized there was no way I could stay home. I had run away from home after like something happened with my parents, and then at that point I realized I needed to figure out something for the summer because I wasn't going to move home. And then that just opened up so many questions of like, how do I actually make that happen? And how do I make sure there's another alternative for me? And between when I decided that and actually going through with the plan to move out, my mom passed away. I had acquired summer housing through a job, but if I took the time to mourn my mom and like deal with my mental health, I'd have to step away from the job and then lose housing. So I think that was when it really hit me that like a lot of my decisions in life had to be made around housing. And that's a very scary thought when like you can't deal with things that are happening in your life that you should be dealing with, because I had to deal with housing first. I think it's easiest to relate it back to like the concept of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is like if you don't have a place to live, nothing else can happen for you. Like, there's no way for you to truly be happy if you're always worrying about where you're going to sleep that night. It's such a constant stressor that it's hard to think about anything else, because it's everything. Like, if I don't have a place to live, where do I put all my things? Where am I going to stay that night? Like, you lose everything it is that makes you you if you don't have a place to live. Owning things is very stressful because having to move all the time, you're constantly packing up your life, moving it from point A to point B. I'm only one person. I very often don't necessarily have people to help me move. It's hard to justify buying things a lot of the time because they take up space, and it's just another thing I'm gonna have to move eventually. I don't really have a definition of home. It's changed a lot over the years because it's never been a place to me. And I think over the years I've like tried to find it in other people, and that's almost worse. But not having that definition of home is very ostracizing. It's a emptiness I feel all the time. I feel like not having that stability, I guess. Like, home is supposed to be such like an obvious term, and for a lot of people, myself included, it's just not. I think in a lot of ways I am a much stronger person than I would have been had I not gone through housing insecurity. I think the resilience and determination I've acquired through things I've dealt with has shaped who I am today and made it easier to deal with things in other aspects of my life. At the same time, I wish it hadn't. Because it's nice to be able to say, like, I'm strong, I can work through anything I've been through, but at the same time, like, I shouldn't have had to go through those things. It was really, really hard to persevere and to kind of work through all those things, because it's so tempting to just be like, this is too big of a problem for me to face, and it's so much easier to just give up than try to find a solution. But I think once you fall into the habit of trying to fix it, it's hard to let go of that. It's hard to be like, well, I've succeeded all these other times. If I give up now, what was the point of even fighting to begin with? And I don't know, I met a lot of people who really made me happy, and I don't know, like, you just find things worth fighting for. And those were enough for me, I guess.